yields back. Ms. Sewell is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank our witnesses today. Every elected official makes decisions that impact the quality of life of our constituents and Americans broadly. But far too often, bad actors take advantage of sensitive information that is shared in the policymaking process to line their own pockets. Time and time again, elected officials have broken the trust of the American people by exploiting their position for personal gain. This was on full display, as the chairman said, shortly after the COVID-19 pandemic, where senators and representatives on both sides of the aisle used privileged information from briefings about the pandemic to trade securities. According to a review of the financial disclosure by the Campaign Legal Center, 12 senators made at least 227 purchases or sales that resulted in $98.3 million in stock profits. On the House side, there were as many as 1,358 transactions by 37 representatives that resulted in $60.5 million in stock benefits. Now, I believe that all of us in this room can agree that we are long overdue for reform. In fact, when I came to Congress, I was elected in 2010, I came after spending almost a decade in New York City working in securities law for Davis Polk and Wardwell. I was shocked that we didn't have any insider trading laws on the books. So I was very happy to support the Stock Act when it came up for a vote in 2012. I do believe that it's long overdue for reform of that. And I want to press you, Mr. Copland, along the lines of my colleague, Ms. Lee. Can you talk about what individuals should be in this prohibition? If we prohibit all stocks from being traded, is it only members of Congress, or how do we talk about executive members of the executive, the president and others? And then also, tell me why it's so important that family members also should be covered.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated question. Obviously, we'll take the family members first. I mean, obviously, dependent children probably should be included in any of these sorts of situations. I mean, if you've got your kid and you can trade on your kid's stock account and not yours, I mean, that obviously is something that if you had a rule on the member, you'd have a rule on the dependent children. The spouse can be a little bit more complicated because people have professional spouses. They have spouses with means. You know, we've had people in both parties, for instance, running for president with very well-heeled spouses with major investments, you know, the late Senator McCain, Senator Kerry.
I know my time is limited. Talk to me about the executive. I mean, we saw Donald Trump and his family really benefit a lot from the tariffs. You know, the on-again, off-again nature of the tariffs really yield a lot of profit for people in the executive. So talk to me about the executive being covered, and the judiciary for that matter. Yeah,
I think the easier one is staff members, senior staff members, which are included in some of these bills. When you talk about the other co-equal branches of government, you know, there are matters of comity there that come into play. I do think this body has some authority there. I think the higher up you go, the more you get to the president or the Supreme Court. When you get to the actual constitutional officers, it becomes a trickier question. But for certain other officials, it's an easier question. And, you know, ought to be explored. I think there's nothing wrong with exploring that.
Yeah. Mr. Strauss, I would love to know your thoughts about if we could only do one reform, what reform would that be to the Stock Act and why?
Thank you, Congresswoman. As you know, CRS does not take a position on any particular piece of legislation. I'd be happy to discuss any of them with you and your staff at any point as you're preparing.
Well, since I only have 56 seconds, I'm going to ask Mr. Copland and Mr. Silas, what if reform would you do if you had just an opportunity to open up the Stock Act and actually make one reform?
I think something along the lines of pre-disclosure that the chairman was talking about would make sense with some caveats. And I think creating easier safe harbors for divestment, even if you didn't mandate divestment across the board, safe harbors including with tax treatment that would make it easier for members to do that coming into office, I think would obviate a lot of the problem. I don't think most members come here to try to trade stocks, right?
Got you. What do you think, sir?
I think forced divestment into diversified mutual funds and ETFs to tie members of Congress's financial success to the overall success of the American economy rather
Would you
than...
change the tax treatment in order, I mean, because people would be coming into, people who are currently here would have to divest, and as we talked about, they may have long-term gains, capital gains.
Yes, like along the lines of what Mr. Copland was discussing earlier, certificates of divestiture to defer the capital gains tax as long as it's reinvested legally.
Thank you. Yield back.
The gentleman